Circe Denyer is new to the club. She just joined at the open house. But she's not new to Toastmasters. She's been in Toastmasters for 4 years. And in that short period of time, she's got herself to the DTM level, which is very impressive, especially for somebody like me who's been in Toastmasters for 20 years and still haven't gotten to the DTM level. Tonight, Circe is going to be doing project number 1 out of the Humorously Speaking manual, warm up the audience. Circe gets asked quite frequently, "Is that your real name?" Well, that's what she's going to talk about tonight. We're going to hear the truth and the story about her real name. Please join me in welcoming to the lectern. The title of her speech is That Really Your Name? Circe Denyer. Thank you, Mr. Bishop.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. Many, many years ago, on this very day, in the morning, a young couple, a very young couple, gave birth to a little girl. Now, these two people were very intelligent, brilliant, you might say, because they prepared for the birth and the naming of this child. And it took them a little while to figure out what they were going to call this child if it was a girl. The name they came up with was Circe. This is how it's spelled, and this is how you pronounce it, Circe. I tell a lot of people it's like circle, drop the L. That helps them to figure it out for spelling and a little bit for enunciation. Now, when I was little, I went to my father and I said, how did you figure out to name me Circe? Because my brother, his name is James. James Freeman Jr. Well, that makes sense. He's the first child. Name him after the dad. My sister, younger than me, her name is Jennifer. Jennifer Patricia Denyer. And she doesn't like that, so she goes by JP. Have I ever picked a nickname for myself? No. But many, many people that I know have picked nicknames for me. Now, I find it interesting that our word of the day, ethnography, comes from the Greek. Part of it means people, folk, and part of it means I write. My name came from a story from Greek mythology, a writing in the story of Ulysses. And I'll tell you about that in just a minute. But I have to get back to the story about asking my dad, how did I get to be named Circe? Well, here's what happened. I'd go to him and I'd say, how did it happen? And he said, well, your mom and I were talking about it. It was my turn to name the child because your mom said she wanted the firstborn to be named after me. Great. James Freeman. I wanted something unique, but I had these rules. It couldn't be a teasing name. It couldn't be shortened into something for a nickname. And it needed to have a very unique quality. It had to be different than everybody else's name. But he was really, really concerned for me as a child for those days when I would go to school. I appreciated that so much because I went through my entire school year and not a single person teased me. Not about my name anyway. It was about other things. So he went through this scenario. He said, I thought about calling you Iris from Greek mythology. And I went, so glad I didn't get that name. But here's what happened. It turns out that story is not true. Now, that's the way I remember it. So was I remembering it wrong? And how did I find out that it wasn't true? 3 years ago. I'm 65 today. 3 years ago, I found out it wasn't true. I've been telling this story to anybody who would listen for 62 years. But here's the story. It was a mutual decision between my mother and my father. My mother says, no, you got the story wrong. Your father and I got together and we discussed this at great length. And yes, there were rules. But they were my rules, she said. Your father wanted to name you a completely different name. And I went, not Iris? Oh, no. We never discussed Iris, ever. He wanted to call you Magdala. What? Oh my gosh. Oh, that's terrible. And she said, what would happen is your schoolmates would shorten that name to what? Maggie. And no daughter of mine would ever be called Maggie. And I went, well, that's not that bad. That first one was terrible. That shortened one wasn't too bad. But what happened to me inside? I went, I've been telling this story wrong the entire time. Now, I had to figure out, was I making it up? Or did my father make it up and that's what I heard? Because my father's not around to ask. Only my mother is. So I have to trust that the story is true. That Magdala name, and she came from Greek mythology too, but she was just a plain character, a housewife, a mother. Circe, on the other hand, was a siren. She was a sorceress. And in the story of Ulysses, he was a sailor. And he sailed around the islands of Greece. And she sang beautiful songs. And what happened? The sailors crashed their ships on the shore. And what did she do? She turned them into pigs. All of them. Except Ulysses. Why? Because she was in love with him. And she wanted him to marry her. And it was only when he consented to say yes to marrying her that she turned them back. So she was a magician, a songstress, an enchantress. I don't do that. I don't turn men into pigs. I don't sing at all. I can't dance either. But I do love my name. And now all of you know where it came from. Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay, good job. 14. And what we're going to do the same thing for Circe is what we did for Linda and Rocky. Take a